Well, while you're doing that, call the meeting to order. It's 7 o'clock. You do a roll call?
I will indeed. Good evening, everybody. Chris Wallaker,
Present.
Ray Tell,
Yes.
Catherine Becker.
Here.
And Chet Hill.
Here.
And Rita Holmes and Lisa Smerrick have excused absences.
Has everybody got their mic on? I always forget.
I think so.
Green light, yeah, all right.
Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
A second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Can I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Is there anything new to report, Jenna?
Not really, not at this moment.
Okay. I presume everyone has had an opportunity to check it out, check the site out, and I assume that let me know if there's any ex parte or conflict of interest in regards to this particular project, okay? Then we'll open the public hearing, the application for zoning variance. And do you, Jenna, want to report first?
Well, actually, before we open the public hearing, let's have the applicant report.
Okay,
And I'll report, and then we can open the public hearing,
okay,
and then go into discussion.
sounds good, sounds fine.
So with that. Okay. One second to pull up your PowerPoint again. Event mode. Okay, ready when you are.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here and allowing me this opportunity. My name is Jason. This is my partner Bianca, and we will be the new owners of Just Play, opening up in the 7001 Dexter Ann Arbor address in Dexter Crossing.
Sorry, Jason, make sure that you're talking into the microphone so that it's recorded.
So if you want to just click on the next slide. Looking through the zoning ordinances, we believe that we do meet all 6 requirements for a variance. Some of the things that I will say, I may be jumping the gun because I was actually responding to a lot of the comments and some of the feedback that we received and some of the staff comments as well. And the first would be the practical difficulties. So here we took presented 3 pictures. One's an overview. The one in the top right is showing from the sidewalk along Dexter Ann Arbor Road, kind of just a visualization of, in this case, Noble Appliance, that's our building. Pretty hard to see from this distance. And then we took a closer up photo showing when you're facing the building, showing the right side, which would be like the Ivy Rehab, the food zone. And then at the same angle or same location at a different angle towards our building, you can kind of see Noble Appliance trying to show different perspectives, size comparison, as well as the visualization of the sign. And in this case, wanted to just kind of contrast our building size, and you can go to the next slide. So Dexter Crossing Michigan LLC, which is the one half of the parcel in this development, They operate a total of 67,959 square feet. Currently, they're operating 23 leases. There are a few vacancies there. And then BJ Dexter Property Management LLC, which is the site that we're renting from or leasing from, is operating 43,490 square feet. Both buildings are set back approximately the whole plaza is set back approximately 410 feet away from the road. And this, for us, does present some challenging aspects, given that Dexter Ann Arbor Road, we are running parallel to it, not perpendicular. And unlike IHA or previously St. Joe, who got the variance back in 2014, I believe, they are actually on the corner closest to Don Huey at a stoplight. So for us, there's some practical difficulty when you're driving parallel to Dexter Ann Arbor Road. You're driving at 50 miles an hour with very, in our opinion, minimal visualization. I do see some challenges or may present some practical difficulties in the current allowance that we have with the sign. And I'd like to point out, and in 2020, it does seem that the staff at that time did, with Dollar Tree, when they were applying for their variance, did see some potential practical difficulties with Dollar Tree in 2020. And we're kind of in a similar boat in that sense, where we want to increase our sign just because of where our building is located or where our property is located in relation to the road. Go to the next slide, please. And here's just a little bit more details on the aspects of some of the other tenant signs in the property. You can see Dollar Tree there, and you can see Ivy Rehab. All of this information was actually pulled from CoStar. Our broker helped us gather some of this information so you guys can have it in reference. So you can see Ivy Rehab sign, and you can see Dollar Tree sign. And I want to say we want to follow all the rules, stay with, going through the variance and getting approval. And just some of these signs, we do think there are some inconsistencies when it comes to size. I do know it's 1 square foot of area per linear foot of tenant space. And based on some of the sizes, I think some of the signs are a little bit bigger than the other tenancies than allowed. We can go on to the next slide, please. So as far as moving, before I jump the gun too far here, as far as the practical difficulties, that's kind of what I was explaining, the distance, the setback, and then the other tendencies there, and trying to be an anchor store. I think it's just presents some practical difficulties for us. Substantial justice, I do believe that we would bring a lot of synergy to the district, to the business district there. Our lease agreement, as well as the easement agreement between Dexter Crossings Michigan LLC, as well as BJ Dexter Property Management, we cannot have non-competing businesses. I know some of the concerns with the emails that came in from some citizens were that we'd be taking away from other businesses. But for our agreement, we cannot compete. We cannot have like businesses. So we do believe us coming in here, bringing more attention to the district will bring substantial justice and will help other businesses bring in more traffic with no cost or burden to them. We would obviously be undertaking the whole process with the permits and the sign cost. And we presented in the pages that you guys have, we did talk to some businesses right after we saw those feedbacks. And obviously we had Jets Pizza Joe, the owner there, as well as Adrian and Lori from Shayla's, who've been there for many, many years, give us their support on coming over or getting a sign variance. Go to the next one. One of the staff did mention in their report that maybe the color scheme is a little bit too bold. We are open to a softer color palette. So we did apply for a 148 square foot variance. We presented another one here just for reference for you guys to see, another one scaled back to 125. Again, we are open to your feedback. We are open to seeing or getting maybe even a lesser variance if the ones presented are too great or too bold. And then go go to the next one. Public safety and welfare, as stated in our application, as well as the staff's, the sign variance would not pose a risk to public safety or welfare. It would not obstruct any, views, present any issues. So with extraordinary circumstances, one of the things that, I wanted to address first is I believe this is not self-created, in the extraordinary circumstance. This building has, I believe, been changed over ownership-wise 3 times, between, I believe, Blackhawk, then to Shamrock, and then to BJ Dexter property. We are merely just the tenants trying to come in here, trying to bring new business. Talking to the community, we understand Country Market kind of fell over the years, and then obviously the negative, quite honestly, negative feedback we've heard about Noble Appliance. And so for us, you know, we do feel like if we're going to come here specifically geared towards a younger demographic, to parents, we want to start fresh, start new, and kind of bring a new, revitalize the area a little bit from kind of what we've heard. We would be, you know, part of the anchor store. We are one of 2 parcels there. We'd be taking 25,000 square feet of one parcel. So we would be a very big presence there. Go to the next slide. So here's just kind of some visualizations. Again, this is the current Noble Appliance sign. You can see the old Country Market sign. And I can only imagine part of that is Bush's massive sign over there, which in, I believe, 2005 got a sign variance for 163 square feet. And I'm not sure if that even included the Starbucks sign that is larger than the current Noble Appliance sign right now. So I believe some of the extraordinary circumstances would be out of our control. And again, we want to bring this part of Dexter back up again, in essence, from what it was with Country Market and Noble Appliance. We can go to the next slide. In response to some of the comments that other businesses in the district or in that community are following the rules, I would say when we went through this, you know, we measured the parapets here, and Dollar Tree supposedly did not get their variance, but they have 3 more based on those lines there, 3 more than Noble Appliance. I believe from their application, they had 20-inch lettering. Each one of those boxes are approximately 1.5 feet. So right there alone, they're definitely over the allowed maximum allowance. And I guess that goes back to some of the comments that everyone is following the rules. Everyone's sign is good enough. I would venture to say that is not true, that everyone is trying to create bigger signage. And by limiting us here, I would say we're at a disadvantage, and that would be considered an extraordinary circumstance, not of our creation. Click the next slide. Same concept with Ivy Rehab. You can see here, that is their sign. They are only operating 1,000 square feet. Their frontage is only about 40 feet long. And their sign is, when we measured it, and we also did it along the ground, bigger than our Noble Appliance that we currently have there, which I believe the Noble Appliance sign measures out to about 41 square foot. And there's kind of a comparison right there, where the allowance is already in some circumstances greater for the other tenancies there. Go to the next slide. Again, similar to what we said in our application and what the staff wrote in their report, the sign variance would present no safety hazard or nuisance. We can go on to the next one. And then the last point, relationship to adjacent land uses. I know I put down a lot of bullet points here, but just being there while construction's happening, seeing the numerous people walking their dogs and the numerous people doing laps and walking around the area, we do believe bringing a kids' family fun center is in line with what the community has in that area. You have shopping, you have the Dollar Tree, you have multiple restaurants over there where they want to go play with their kids, take out some energy and then go grab some food and refuel. We believe that our sign and our business is very much in line with the business district there. And I do believe that it does bring some equity and symmetry to the district, considering that IHA, currently IHA, what used to be St. Joe's, has 4 signs on their building, and they occupy right around almost 6,000 square feet. But they have 4 signs over there, and if having our sign, I do believe would make some more symmetry, and again, be in line with the PUD and the design over there. We can go to the next slide. Again, this is just more talking points for us. Again, I believe that with our sign, it would match up with the adjacent community. You have, as I mentioned, you have bushes across the street. You have L'Enfontaine across the street, which they got approved, I believe, in 2012 for 263 square foot sign. It's pretty big. And then they have 3 monument signs as well. I know we are allowed 1, but they have, just for equity's sake, I find it hard that, you know, Bushes and L'Enfontaine on one side of the street have such command so much visual space on their buildings. And I think just having ours here would be more in line and match up and sync up the roads here, so you have both sides getting fair equity on signage. And that's the presentation. I appreciate you guys listening to all of that. And we really do look forward to being part of the community. Things are coming along, and hopefully to see your kids or grandkids there, and it should be a lot of fun.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And then you guys got the support emails?
Yes.
Okay.
From Judge.
Yep.
Judson,
Yeah.
Shayla,
Sheila.
yes.
Did everybody say yes? Chad?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna go through my report a bit, and then I do have a couple of comments as I go to what Jason had just said. Certainly, you know, we as a community are super excited for this play center. I have a young child. I'm super excited for it. My friends are super excited for it. You know, it's definitely something that's needed in this community, and I promise you, without a doubt, you're going to be successful. I would say that regardless of your sign, you're going to be very successful. I'm sure you've probably gone to Chelsea Treehouse before. You know, that's, I'd say, probably your biggest competition, but that's far away from the city, and people also get bored of this one place. So I'm telling you that regardless of your sign, you're going to be successful.
And they're gonna get the word of mouth too.
Yeah, a word of mouth is going to be extremely important as well. And it's already, you know, going around. It's already on, I saw on the Friends of Dexter, people that I come across are talking about it. When's it gonna open? When's it gonna open? So there's definitely a lot of excitement around it. And real quick, I'd say that, you know, for Country Market, for Noble, I think that those products, if you will, you know, like Country Market, you then had Bush's come across the street, and Bush's was more well known, so that was a competitor. Noble Appliance, a lot of people found that the store was either not open, or when they got there, people weren't there to help them, you know.
They didn't have any stuff that you would want.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
or
like a
that too.
junkyard in there.
Right. So again, you know, the comparisons are, I think, important, but I think also should be taken with the full story. So I'm gonna just start here real quickly, but the applicants are requesting 180 or 148.5 square foot building sign where the maximum 42 square feet is permitted. I should also just gesture, right, or insert right here that this is obviously based on our 2023 zoning ordinance. A lot of the examples that were mentioned previously were obviously before our 2023 zoning ordinance, and while some of the standards were similar, there was some pretty significant differences. And also in terms of variances, back then, for you to remember, you only needed to meet one of those 6 variance criteria, whereas nowadays we need to meet 6 of the variance criteria. So that was another big difference back then. So the parapet there is about 550 square feet per the applicant. I didn't get out there to measure it, but I'm going to trust what the applicant stated. Although it is part of the PUD, we do use the ARC, the Ann Arbor, Dexter Ann Arbor Road corridor as our underlining zoning whenever we look at Dexter Crossing or this Noble Appliance property. And the reason for that is because the city purposefully made this zone district, this form-based district, with the 2023 plan, or sorry, 2023 zoning ordinance. So it's important to carry through those desires that were developed from a robust public engagement process. And certainly the Planning Commission, and then the adoption of it by the City Council. So in terms of the criteria, the variance criteria, the practical difficulties, potentially there's somewhat of a practical difficulty, right? But I would say that, that's the only one that I can kind of say, okay, yeah, I can kind of see their point. It's 50 miles, it really should be 40 miles right there. But a lot of people, jump it and go 50. But I would also say that the other businesses there are successful without a larger sign as well. And that they would also, like I had mentioned, they would also be able to have a ground sign just for their 2 tenants. So then that would be placed right where the Noble ground sign used to be, if you recall where that was. So it was like pretty much along the sidewalk. So in terms of, people walking by, certainly, they'll be able to see that sign just as you can now with all of the 23 different businesses for Dexter Crossing. This one will just, highlight the 2 tenants that are on this property. In terms of substantial justice, the applicant states that granting the variance would do substantial justice while maintaining fairness to the other property owners. And they point out that the business won't compete with any other businesses, and therefore there's not actually, they're not in the situation of where they have to be like, look at us, we're here, because they're not going to have a competitor. Unlike the situation that was presented with Country Market and Bush's for that, in that example. So if ZBA determines, though, that a larger sign is necessary, we would consider, we would ask for your consideration of a lesser variance that would be a smaller sign. And I said softer colors, but I guess what I really meant was less distracting colors, all of the many different colors that they're proposing here. Again, staff does not recommend the approval of the variance, but if there is a consideration, we would ask for it to be a lesser variance. And then public safety and welfare, just as the applicant stated, we don't see opposed to public safety or welfare. Don't really see how it would obstruct views or present hazards necessarily, other than, potentially distraction. But I couldn't really say that was necessarily a public nuisance. by like our definition of public nuisance. Extraordinary circumstance, I mean, this is really the one where, you know, I just don't see how there's any argument for extraordinary circumstance. They're in a shopping center, everybody's set back the same amount. They mentioned the Dollar Tree, that was actually not approved, that variance was not approved in 2020. In terms of whether or not the lettering and everything is not, you know, how it should be. Again, that was 2020, that was before our 2023 zoning ordinance. And also I wasn't there, and so like in terms of, you know, making sure that the signage that is coming through is indeed correct. So I can't, you know, really speak to
Sorry.
that, and that, you know, like what happened. I'm not exactly sure. Though, again, I would say that they were not approved their zoning variance. And very much because they could only meet, you know, one of the criteria, specifically the practical difficulty, it was said, you know, might be something that was met, but that they weren't able to meet any of the other ones. So staff just does not agree that the sign is necessary due to an extraordinary circumstance. All of the businesses in the shopping center are set back. Additionally, this property, unlike the other businesses, would be permitted to have that separate ground sign, like I mentioned previously. No safety hazard or nuisance. Relationship to adjacent land use. This is important because it says specifically here that the master plan, the consideration shall be given to the purpose and objectives of the master plan, prevailing shopping patterns, convenience of access for patrons, continuity, of development, and the need for particular services and facilities in specific areas of the city. And so specifically in the master plan, it talks about that, first of all, it talks about the need for a form-based district, as you know, this is the gateway into the city, for, you know, for it to not be your standard commercial, you know, district, for it to be architecturally, you know, symmetric, or for there to be a symmetry in terms of like the architecture standards. It calls for mixed use, for traditional neighborhood design standards, for scale, setbacks. It talks a lot about like a pedestrian oriented corridor. And, you know, so with that, that's kind of, you know, signage to human scale, which staff would contend that much larger sign would not fit into that. And in terms of continuity, you know, if they have a very large sign and then the next tenant has a smaller sign, there isn't that continuity. You know, the argument that they had provided regarding Trinity, that I provided that information again, that was back in 2014, so well before the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act required all 6 variances to be met, and then also well before our 2023 zoning ordinance. So that pretty much concludes my thoughts here, except that I do want to mention that they did receive 2 emails in support of the sign. And then 2 emails that were not in support of the sign. I also want to make sure if there's any participants. Okay. And then, sorry, one more thing. And then I do have some of the details of the La Fontaine variance, if you're interested, as well as that of the Dollar Tree. And then And I'm sorry, I just lost my, here we go. And, sorry, that actually I've covered everything. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Jenna. Since I'm new to this, I see we have someone in the audience. Is it appropriate to allow them
I
to
think that
speak?
you should first open the public hearing.
Okay. So we'll open the public hearing at 7:30. If you would like to make a comment?
No, I don't
Okay.
want to speak. I mean, I live very near there.
Okay,
One, I have been out of town, so I didn't know, other than guessing how big the sign would be.
okay.
Ma'am.
Wanted just to hear what the deliberations were about
Okay.
granting a waiver for it.
Have you seen a photo? Have you seen a photo of their proposed?
Okay.
it'll be
I could
above.
move that up.
It's much larger than what all the way in that shopping center.
I don't know if it's the size so much.
Here's the picture.
Yeah, there's the picture.
There's a
Look at the
picture
si-
right there.
Look at the screen up here.
Well,
It is, I mean, it's the size.
Is that the 112?
I assume this is above the Noble Appliance, what is now called the Noble Appliance.
Correct.
Yeah, Noble Appliance is gonna be gone.
And it, okay. Other, it just seems very large.
Could you state your name?
Ma'am, I'm sorry, can you come up to the microphone? It's just. Sorry.
Yeah, there you
It's
go.
okay.
This is how we do it.
Oh, now we're putting you on Zoom. Now you're going on Zoom.
It's, I mean, you are being recorded, but if you do want to make a, comment, then it should be it should be an official comment.
Your name and address would be good.
Deborah Weicker, 3595 Forshee Lane,
Thank you.
Okay.
right behind Dexter Crossing. So I pass by that area every day, or most every day. Watched that shopping center change over time since I lived there for almost 24 years. And it's, since I'm just seeing it for the first time, forgive me, but it does seem a little bit out of character for what the aesthetic has been for the center. On the other hand, I'd like to see the space utilized and not seem to be empty and, not, anyway. So I don't know that, that seems a little, so in your face, forgive me for not using.
Not at
I
all.
wasn't prepared with comments.
Quite all right.
It's
but,
quite all right.
Pardon me?
It's quite all right. Nobody is.
So I'm not.
Including the
not
chair.
against a large sign, but now that looking at it now it just seems a little.
Thank you.
But that's all. I'm glad something would be going in there that would utilize the space though.
Yep.
Very much so.
Thank you very much. No one online or other comments, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not mistaken.
So let's open the public hearing.
Oh, that was the public hearing.
Oh, it's already opened.
Public
it.
comments, yeah.
Well, that was a comment.
So if you want to close
Yeah,
the public hearing,
Close the public comment section.
would you like to close the public hearing?
Public comments. or
Public
is it public
comments.
Hearing.
It's the same thing. Public comments and public hearing are the same.
Okay. Like to open it up then for,
You already opened it. Now we're just
For
closing it. Closing at 7:35.
All right. Opening up discussion about staff discussion. There we
Or
go.
board discussion.
Whatever. Yeah, board discussion.
Yeah, she's the staff, we're the board.
Or charts.
Here, you guys even elected me as chair.
No, you're fine.
So,
Well, if they have questions for you, then yeah, you'll go up. But
Right.
at this point, they're discussing amongst themselves. Unless they have questions.
so do any of you have comments, additional comments or questions?
I want to ask a few questions first. Of you first, Jenna. My zoning administrator. What's the criteria for their standalone sign?
On
Not
their,
backlit, just painted, bright colors, muted colors, design standards, architectural fit in? Is that all covered in there like that?
so are you talking about the wall
Stand-
sign?
What does the ordinance say?
It says they have a standalone sign.
The one out
Out
front.
at the street?
Yeah,
No, I said that they could have one.
Yeah.
They're not proposing that at this time.
but I'm asking, what would
But
the
what they can
restrictions
have.
be on that?
Okay. So yeah, it would be, let me just double check, but I believe it's 6 feet high.
In town, I know it's 4 feet.
Okay, 6 feet maximum height. They can have 42 square foot per side. So because it's like 2 tenants, that would just be split per tenant.
So is there 2 tenants in there?
There what is going to be another tenant, the building, the property that they have, there's 2
There's-
sides of it.
Okay,
So they are taking the one that's interior to the site. And then there's going to be another tenant on the Carrington side of the site.
oh, they split that building?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So the max, and how far off the road's it gotta be?
15 feet.
15 feet, all right. Doesn't the sign variance have to go with the building then?
Yeah.
From
it
then
would
on
be-
forward,
It would be.
up and including to size, color, backlighting, day of hours operation?
But if we,
Well,
if
the-
we grant this variance on the building, then it'll be on the building for the next tenant as well. We're saying into the future.
Well, yeah, for this
Yeah.
next tenant, yes. So they are, once it's determined who the next tenant is, the other one on the same property on the Carrington side, they will also be able to get their own signage. So they'll have one fronting Dexter Ann Arbor, and then they can also have one fronting Carrington. But yes, so they're, separate. But yes, this sign would go with this building, just as the St. Joe's
Right.
now Trinity sign goes with that building.
So we're setting a precedent that we'd have to live with in the future, even if these guys moved on. Yeah.
That's correct.
Hopefully because they're really successful and moved to a bigger site somewhere else in town.
Are they allowed to use their interior windows as signage?
Yes. They're allowed up to 4 square feet on each window for signage without needing to get a permit.
All right,
They utilize more than 4 square feet with a permit, what's the permit restrictions?
No, we don't have anything in the ordinance right now that says that they can have more on the windows.
So it's like going 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
like the next step is a building sign, but you can only have one building sign on
I
each
get you, I
one.
just wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
to-
Yeah.
Well, I'm not gonna pick on him about colors, being the person that lives in the green and purple house.
Excuse me, Ray, are you finished?
I'm just, yeah. I think 148, I mean, I can understand their desire for a sign, but I believe you guys are gonna be destination. There ain't nobody gonna be driving by looking for your place without knowing where it is already. And I think you guys are, you have the type of business the city's been looking for that will attract not only business to that, much needed business to that mall, strip mall, shopping center, but will provide a much needed service for the growing area out here. I sympathize with your feelings about how previous businesses got a larger ordinance, but as you can see, the zoning ordinance, for me personally, it's been a sore spot since the 90s. So as we go on and on, we try to improve it. And I'm sorry that these other ones got in there before you, but when we first started the sign ordinance for the ARC, we were going in blind. As we came up with a more defined vision for that corridor, we thought we had to include the signage. And so the signage requirements include more of a muted, more of a smaller, more of a pedestrian friendly. I know that goes against everything your business plan probably said to do. You want to have huge signage to attract people. I don't think you need the huge signage. I think you need to define it in a way that, is this a chain? Is this or is it just you? It doesn't, no, I can just talk. Is it a chain?
No, so
Okay.
this is
It's just you.
us two.
Perfect.
To your point, and I appreciate all your feedback, as I mentioned, recently, the Ivy Rehab just moved in this year and their sign is already outside of what's allowed. I know you said Dollar Tree before was you, now it's Ivy Rehab is already greater, and
If I might, response to the question was what we needed right now, and you'll have a chance.
I was hoping to answer that in that while I agree that the initial, I would say, warm welcoming of Just Plays what Dexter, from what we've been hearing, from comments like her saying, country markets and mobile appliance to almost a desolate shopping center in there. I do understand the ecstasy of more coming in there, but understand that with every other business, a sign is a form of advertising.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you.
However, I will go back to my previous comment saying there is an overlay in that district and it's intended to keep a subdued kind of a signage down that corridor as it is a gateway to the city. It's too colorful for me, but that's just me. I am but one vote and one voice. I don't think it fits 6 criteria, maybe 1 or 2. I don't believe we'll ever get 6. And it's not what's in the ordinance at this time. And that's what I have to base my decision on if I can defend this decision in a court of law. Whether I'm agreed with or disagreed with, it always comes back to, is this a defensible position? And I believe it is. The ordinance is the ordinance. It's there for an intent. The ordinance is always being remodeled to reflect current trends or updates or necessity. Based on what the ordinance says now, I cannot see granting a variance, number 1, up to 148 feet. I did look at the other one for the urgent care at 112. It's I was counting across there, it looks like they have, what do you got, 6 of them uprights, maybe 4 of them uprights going across? Whereas that one right there had, I think, 8. So if we're gonna go by 1.5 feet, obviously, it just doesn't, I don't know if it's because it fills the void higher or it's not as spread across the bottom. If you can show me something with more muted colors and possibly a decrease in area, I might be willing to look at that, but as of right now, my vote will be no.
There regarding, if requested variance not granted, less than variance, as we noted in our slide, we are open to more monochromatic colors, more pastel, more not as bold per se colors, and a lesser sign. We are open to that. I guess I appreciate your feedback. I'm not sure how Jenna, how we would present that.
Well, that would be my next concern is obviously neither one of us are prepared to look at that on such a short notice. I don't know if we can. What do you call that? A table, if that's something you wish to do, if you wish to get more information, or would you, I'd actually like you to hear from everyone at this table and not just me, because I am no one. So you have to listen to everyone opinion. I'm just chattering the ordinance.
Thank you, Ray.
Sure.
Gavin?
Well, I'm concerned about the fact that if we granted this variance, that it would go with the space, and then if you moved on, it would something else in there would also have a big sign, and we are looking for, that the new ordinance is because of what we want for the future. And this is not the future that ordinance was aimed at. That makes any sense, that, what was it, 2022, when the ordinance was revised and the signs had to be smaller and bushes and other people snuck in under the old rules. The new rules are there because that's what we want to do going forward into the future. So that's sort of my concern with this. Like I said, I live in a green and purple house. I'm not going to pick on you about your colors. And I think it's great that you're doing this. I think it's a wonderful business to have in that space. It just, I don't know, the sign just seems overwhelming. So that's sort of my thought.
Okay.
I'm probably a no vote as well.
Thank you.
Let's see what Chris and
And if you,
Chet have to say.
if you guys, just as a reminder, if you could also, speak to the criteria, to the variance criteria. As
Yeah.
you're making your.
I guess
flips and-
I'm looking at the relationship to adjacent land uses, the relationship to the other signs in the shopping center. This is not in line with what they've got. You're saying that the Dollar Tree and what was the other one were large as well, but they're not large like this. So I guess it's number 6 is the one that I'm kind of hung up on here.
Jenna, can I ask?
It's up
Chair.
to the chair.
Yes.
Can you ask a question? Was that what you?
Can he debate me?
To Jenna, I'm sorry.
I would ask you though to go up to the microphone again. I would like it to be recorded so I can get accurate minutes.
So according to what Catherine said, we applied for a use variance on this space. So I presume that any other tenant, if we were to move out, that they would have first would need approval to use that space. Is that correct? Or any tenant can just move in there
No, you don't have a use variance. You have a special land use
for that particular space,
for that business.
for that business?
Yeah, so it's not the same thing. It doesn't run with the property. It runs with the business
So then any business can move in there then?
that is allowed in the zoning district.
Okay.
So if it's on the list of things that are allowed there, then it could move in, but
Okay.
it would inherit your sign variance.
In terms of the size, they could also have potentially 148.5 square foot
Right,
sign.
right. No, understood.
Thank you. Chris,
Yes,
do you have anything?
yes, the issue I have is I was on the board when we rejected the Dollar Tree's application. They had there's very same issues you guys have with setbacks, speed, all of that. In fact, the issue that the Dollar Tree had was the speed limit there was 50 at the time, and it's been reduced down to 40. So from my perspective, I voted no on approval of the Dollar Trees, and I just can't see how I could approve you, but not Dollar Tree. They have the exact same issues.
Thank you. I have a few comments too. On the Dollar Tree, since we're making reference to it, I also voted no, but I was sympathetic, just like I'm sympathetic to you. The size of that sign was approved based on the zoning ordinance at the time. And I suspect that when it went up, no one went out there, or maybe you guys do this to actually measure the sign to make sure that it fully complies. I don't know whether you do or not, but I can see that being a possibility. I am sympathetic. I think that little sign out by the road with all of the list of them, a list of the companies that, whatever they call it, that are here, the stores. I don't think anybody sees that. I don't. When I'm looking for whatever it is I'm looking at the list of companies, stores that are up along here. So I'm sympathetic. Having said that, this is huge. I have a couple of suggestions. By the way, I like the colors too. I think it's playful.
Yeah,
I think that all by itself draws people. And I have no objection to that. In fact, I don't think we can really. And we don't like it, but that doesn't matter.
yeah, the ordinance doesn't say anything about
Right.
colors. It's
Um,
all about scale.
I did a little bit of, I calculated a little bit. If you took your smaller one and took 2/3 of it, you would almost fall into meet the ordinance. And I've got a suggestion here, and Jenna can answer me on this one because I don't know if I'm correct, but to see on that sign there where it says Noble Appliance, if you put your family fun center or whatever it says there in that location, right on the where everybody else has their sign, and then you move the whole kit and caboodle down, just played down so it wasn't so prominent.
Yeah, that'd look nice.
Yeah, I think that might help a lot. Go with a smaller sign. Break it up a little bit. I think that would help everybody. Now, whether or not you can do this per the ordinance without using that lower family fun center as part of your sign calculation, I don't know. But if you move it down there and you didn't, if you make it a bit smaller, you might be okay.
Jenna?
Pardon me?
Jenna can probably speak to that.
Oh,
I mean, that is that is something that it's a potential. But I would also urge you to really focus in on the criteria. So because at the end of the day, when you're, making as you know, from our trainings and everything, when you're making a determination, you really do need to go through all of the criteria. And whether or not even a smaller sign would meet all 6 criteria.
for sure. Another comment, by the way. Again, I say I'm sympathetic. Hallmark Cards was in there for 2 years. They left because they said, no one can find us. We just didn't have business. So what you're saying means a lot. In regards to the criteria, I don't see really a practical difficulty that amounts to anything. Justice, certainly public safety and welfare doesn't affect anybody. And I suppose if you're driving along and you see this bright sign and you run into somebody, you could say, but I don't see that happening. The corner lot location that staff mentioned, I kind of think that's to your advantage. You get people looking at it from all different angles for that reason. The,
Just to clarify, that will be the other tenant.
oh, it's visible from the side, you mean? Yeah, for sure. But people turning into the or into the subdivision there, they're going to see it face on as opposed to just parallel. So there is some advantage to the location, in my view. Certainly there's no, well, I mentioned this, safety hazard and nuisance and the relationship to the adjacent land uses. Simply the fact that this is brighter and ultimately brighter, I guess. And ultimately, it's probably not going to be able to be bigger. Then in fact, it's not going to be harmonious with the other tenants out there who are not doing this. Now, whether or not the other tenants even applied to do this when they were, there's other peaks that don't have anything on them. And I suppose it never occurred to them. Who knows? But anyway, in that regard, I'm going to ask for a motion here real quickly. I would prefer that you come back to us, is what I'm going to say to whatever this motion's made, and I probably shouldn't even said that. Does somebody here want to make a motion? I don't have any more comments. On this,
Are you asking them to table their request?
I'm not, I shouldn't, and I can't ask. I don't think. But that's the way I would go once the motion is made.
So Chris, you got
so-
anything to say?
What's it?
You got anything to say about it?
Well, I mean, I think it's up to the applicant whether or not they want to table their request and come back.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, you could choose to postpone it for further information.
Okay.
Again, I would urge you to look at all of the criteria and think at whether or not even a somewhat smaller sign would meet that. One of the criteria that you didn't mention yet was extraordinary circumstance, whether or not, you know, you believe that would be met as well.
Oh, did I skip over that one? The, let me look at it here. The fact that this situation is unique. I guess you can say that given that it's at the end of the development, but it's not, that to me isn't necessarily a extraordinary circumstance all by itself. As I think I mentioned, it's almost, to my way of thinking, an advantage, but that's just an opinion. So anyway, if that's what you were looking for.
It is, and again, just as a reminder, it needs to meet all 6 criteria at this point. So if it doesn't meet a criteria, even at a smaller scale, then by law, it needs to be denied. If you can see that it could meet all 6 criteria, small, potentially, if you see something smaller, then that would be justification to postpone.
Okay. Table is not the word I should have used. Postpone is what I was referring to. So I am looking for a motion from somebody here.
Can't meet the criteria.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I'm gonna need to make a motion just to deny.
Well, the
I hate to
motion,
do it, but
there are recommended motions here, so
yeah. So I guess I would make a motion to deny on the basis that of number 6, relationship to adjacent land uses. Nobody else has a sign that huge. And even the signs that are on the large side may be in violation. And just because it hasn't had any enforcement, it doesn't mean that it isn't a violation. You see what I'm saying? So. And number 6 is the one that I would say that is.
So should I read your motion for you?
Well, I probably don't make any sense. It's a very garbled
Do you have a
motion.
copy of it there? In your stuff? I mean, somewhere it's
Yeah.
the recommended motions.
Yeah, well, the recommended motion is,
You just want to read verbatim
yeah.
what that says right there.
Right.
let it be resolved that the zoning board of appeals does not grant the requested variance.
Sorry to interrupt. If you could start from the beginning and then,
Okay,
you say meet or does not meet.
Right.
yeah. All right,
In consideration.
Consideration.
in consideration of the information provided by staff and following a public hearing conducted by the zoning board of appeals on March 17th, 2025, the zoning board of appeals determines that the application for zoning variance PZBA 25-0000-01 for 7001 Dexter Ann Arbor Road, Tenant B, 08-08-08-200-013 does not meet the criteria required for granting the requested variance for a 148.5 square foot where a 42 square foot maximum sign is allowed by the zoning ordinance pursuant to section 24.06 subsection A. Shall I go on?
Yes, please.
Therefore, let it be resolved, the zoning board of appeals does not grant the requested variance from section 7.05.A.2.B to allow for a 148.5 square foot building sign where a maximum of 42 square feet is permitted for property located at 7001 Dexter Ann Arbor Road, Tenant B, 08-08-08-200-013. The determination was made based on the following findings per section 24.06.A of the City of Dexter zoning ordinance list criteria. And I'm going to say number 6, relationship to adjacent land uses, that it does not meet that one. Do I need to say that they do meet the others?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, if you could go through each of them, that would be helpful.
You don't have to read the whole thing.
Yeah, you don't have to read
It's
it.
just practical difficulty.
Yeah,
I mean, if you
yeah,
think it meets.
that,
practical difficulty.
yeah, I practical difficulties, substantial justice, public safety and welfare, extraordinary circumstances, and no safety hazard or nuisance. I'm okay with all of those. But number 6, relationship to adjacent land uses, that they do not meet that. How's that?
Excellent.
Think you got it.
Can I ask for a modification?
Yeah, do we need a second first?
I
Before,
think I can ask,
Yeah, you can ask for his modification.
I'm not sure that they
which
Yeah.
is number 4.
Yeah, I mean, the others, I'm looking at them, I'm not arguing them, but
Yeah.
yes,
understand.
doesn't,
That was
Yeah.
I
yeah,
mean, I
so,
think they have a practical, but
yeah.
that's not their own cause, but I'm not sure they have an experience.
Well, should we say then that they don't have an number 4 extraordinary? Yeah, yeah. Can we modify the motion to include that?
It's fine with me.
And now
Anything?
we need a second.
Yeah, we do need a second. Do you have anything to add to this first, Ray?
No, thank you.
Okay.
I'll second.
I pretty much, in regards to discussion, I pretty much laid my opinion on this out there. My opinion is if we can postpone this and allow the applicants to come back with perhaps a proposal that meets more closely,
A compromise proposal.
yeah, with what we've been talking about here. That's what I would recommend as part of this particular motion.
So right now we have a motion on the table. I think you need to call a vote, or I
Or,
can call a
or can,
vote.
or
and
should
then
I
we could-
withdraw it? Can I withdraw the motion? In favor of Chet's if? I don't know. Go ahead.
What were you gonna say, Jenna?
So first of all, Chet can't make a motion.
Right,
Chet had proposed his motion. You said, Catherine, I think that I should make a motion to deny, not to postpone. That's where we're at now. So now we need a vote on the motion. There's already been a second. If that motion were to fail, then there could be a new motion. Again, not by Chet, but by somebody else on the board.
Well, should we do
okay.
that?
I guess we gotta put it to a vote. So is that a
We'll do a voice vote.
vote? Okay,
Ray Tell,
No,
No on the motion or no?
no on the motion.
That's to.
I mean, yes on the motion.
okay. Wallaker.
Aye.
Catherine Becker
Aye.
and Mr. Hill.
no,
Motion passes 3-0. I mean, sorry, 3-1.
right on. So,
Thank you.
all right,
Can I make a motion to adjourn?
Is that the next item on the
Oh,
agenda?
sorry, business?
Yeah, we don't have any new business. So, yes, are you ready for a motion to?
do I hear a motion to adjourn? Do we have no other business? Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor? There we go. An interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So Jenna, as an alternative, could they utilize the name Just Play and then build a family fun center in the windows to get more space on the actual signage?
Potentially, if they were able to,